So who wants to know how to make a great blog post that sells? Nice. Okay. So compelling content that converts. So there's a content formula that probably a lot of you have seen, and I'll just kind of go through this quickly. But it basically starts with you address the pain, you agitate the pain, twist the knife, you share the story, feel, felt, found, you educate them, you provide them some value, and then you provide a solution at the end, which is a call to action. And I'm sure you've all seen this a lot before, right? We've all seen this in a typical blog post. And take for the example of Elite Marketing Pro, address the pain. It could be, are you tired of doing home meetings? Do you want to have leads for your business? Yada, yada. And you agitate the pain by saying, you talk about how horrible home meetings are and hotel meetings, and no one shows up, and your friends hate you, and you can really go deep, deep into agitating the pain. You then share a story. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, and because when I used to do it, I experienced the same thing, and now my mom hates me, and blah 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 blah. Right? You can really, and we all kind of get that and know that. You educate them, talk about, but did you know there's this whole different way where it's called attraction marketing, and you can actually attract people to you, and you lead with value, and you generate these leads, and they're laser targeted leads, and yada yada yada, and then finally a call to action, and to get more information about this. If you're struggling and you want to generate more leads for your business too, click here to find out more. Right? And that was just me kind of off the cuff, but that's a very typical formula that we all kind of know and love and use, and that's great, right? That's great. Do that. But you kind of got to go a little deeper, right? So you start with the headline, and for those that were in the workshop, I know that Tim and Fernie and Vitaly, they went deep, 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 like spent an hour on headlines for capture pages and all those things, and that's great. Your headline for a blog, though, it's a little bit different. You're basically identifying a topic, right? So the people right off the bat know if it's for them, and then you're making a promise, right? So for example, if I had a title that is, 6 ways to meet women at a bar, that's very different than 6 gifts for the mom with a sweet tooth. Right? And right off the bat from the headline, you're going to know, like, I either want to meet chicks or want to get a gift from my mom. And if it's the other one, you're not going to read the other blog post, right? So the headline is going to let people know right away, is this for me or not? And then you're going to make a promise within that headline that you have to deliver on within the content. You're then going to have an introduction, and the introduction is really critical. The introduction is as important, if not maybe even more important than the headline itself. Because again, when people have the kids screaming and the Snapchat beeping and the emails coming in and Maury Povich is on in the background, they're not gonna, if you don't have a good compelling intro that sucks them in right away, they're gonna get a little bored and disinterested and then click away, right? And it doesn't matter then how good your content is after that. It doesn't matter how amazing your offer is and the solution that you have is at the end in the call to action. If they're stopping at the intro and not moving any further, there's no point, right? You've just wasted a lot of time in the effort that it took you to create the entire content. So the intro has got to draw in the reader. It's got to be like short and punchy and maybe ask a question, right? And really suck them in. You've got to use open loops and subheadlines that keep them reading. Right? How many of you know what an open loop is? Okay, in a minute, I'll do some open loop training. That's kind of like a little open loop joke for people that know what open loops are. But open loops and subheadlines are what is going to keep people moving through your content. I like to think of it as your reader is on the top of a slide, and you've got to create a greased slide for them to slide down, right? So at the top of your content, at the headline, at the intro, they're sitting right at the top of that slide. And if you have a slide that's got sandpaper on it, they're not going to slide down that thing, right? So we need to make a nice greased slide, and your writing and your content has to draw them down, pull them down literally through the content to the end, and you do that with open loops, subheadlines, the formatting, and so forth. Your content also has to be consumable, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So the introduction, it's critical. Got to get your reader into your copy. The perfect intro will be easy to consume and really draw them in, but keep them curious. And it's going to get them to the benefit quickly, right? They got to really, the headline will talk about the promise and kind of gives them a clue, but the intro's really got to get them sucked right into what the benefit is so they can say, okay, this is why I'm now continuing to pay attention right now. So here's an example. This is a screenshot from a blog post that I wrote. All right? So you got the headline there. Make money from affiliate marketing, 3 questions you need to ask. All right? So this is the person, if they want to make money from affiliate marketing, they got to ask these 3 questions to do it, right? So we know who that is designed for, who it's not designed for. And then look at my first sentence. You know there's a gold mine out there, so why are you settling for scraps? Right? That's compelling. That's going to get someone curious. They're going to say, gosh, they're going to start scratching their head and be like, yeah, there's a gold mine out there. Why am I settling for scraps? You know, affiliate marketing is a great business and it can be very lucrative. However, if you really want to make money from affiliate marketing, there are 3 questions you'll need to ask, which I'll get to in a bit. And if you know me and how I present, you know I love red arrows that slide. So right off the bat, that first red arrow, there's a gold mine out there. That's the opening sentence. I'm trying to pique their interest. That second red arrow, that points to the open loop. Right? However, if you really want to make money from affiliate marketing, there's 3 questions you'll need to ask, which I'll get to in a bit. Right? But first, there's a good chance that you're struggling with the economics of the business model. Right? So I've made a compelling introduction here that is going to make these people want to stick around and read more. Here's another example. 6 ways to improve your content. Did you know that creating poor content could ruin your brand and send your audience running for the hills? Right? If someone reads that, they're going to be like, I don't know, I didn't know that. I need to learn more. Right? So right off the bat, that intro is compelling. And then, as you can see down here, I'll get to the 6 simple ways in a second. But before I do that, and I ask them a question. So that's the open loop. All right? So what I'm always trying to do in the intros is ask questions, get them, have a really compelling opening sentence that's short, punchy, that makes them really kind of stop and think, stop them in their tracks. And then I create an open loop in there that's going to make them think, okay, I have to keep reading in order to get the answer to that question. Right? I want to know what the 6 simple ways are. So what Bill's done here is he's saying, I got to keep reading in order to get the answer to those questions. Right? That's what an open loop does. It creates an opening that your brain wants closure to, and you got to keep going on in order to get that closure. Right? So it's done very specifically by design. Does that make sense? You guys getting this? Cool. So your content has to be consumable as well, meaning a blog post needs to be formatted in a way that's consumable. Have you ever read someone's blog post and it was just like one big long like monster paragraph? How did that make you feel? It sucks. Yeah, he said he doesn't know. He never finished it. It's hard on the eyes. It's hard on the brain. If you see a big, huge, chunky paragraph, no matter how good or how well written or what that information is, literally it's just displeasing for the eye, and you're going to not want to move on. You're not going to want to get drawn through and pulled through that content. So just from a formatting standpoint, consumable content has to be formatted well. So what does that mean? You need to pull them in, but also draw them through. It needs to be easy on the eyes, as I mentioned. You do this through bullets, right? You do this through lists. You do this through short paragraphs, breaking them up, sentences, maybe just 1 or 2 sentences long paragraphs, not these big, long, chunky paragraphs. You use images that will support the idea that you're talking about, right? So these images will be breaking up and attracting them to, they'll see the image and they'll want to look down, they'll scan down, and by them scanning down, you are pulling them down through your content. Using sub-headlines. Some people like to scan, right? A lot of people are just scanners, right? The sub-headlines, they'll scan down, they see them because they're bigger, they're bolder, they kind of convey an idea. They'll scan down just to see that sub-headline, and by default, you are drawing them through and pulling them through your content down to the call to action, right? So let's look at this. This is from the formatting standpoint, just right off the bat, what do you see? You don't see big, long, chunky paragraph, right? You see, I gotta use my arrow. You see there's bullets, right there. Now, I could have just said simply traffic, closing skills, and email subscriber list just in one sentence with commas. But no, I wanted to break it up into paragraphs because that's easier on the eye. People might gravitate towards these bullets, and that by default is, again, drawing them through your content down to the end, the call to action. What else do you see here? That could have been a paragraph there, but I specifically broke it up into several short sentences, and I'm asking them questions. Right? I really want to engage the person here and make it as easy as possible for them to, and it doesn't even matter, I mean, you can read this for the information, but it doesn't even matter if the information necessarily for you to understand this. It's just literally visually, how is this looking to you? The information, trust me, it's great, I wrote it, right? But that's not the point. The point is, like, this could have looked entirely different. This could have been like one paragraph, and that would have stopped many people, no matter how good or bad or interesting or not interesting this is, it would have just stopped them right off the bat simply because it looked bad. So, consumability, the ideas in the post are enhanced by media, infographics, having a video in there. That's going to help. Infographics are fantastic. Images, as I mentioned, putting images that support what you're talking about. Links to other data or articles, or if you've written something similar, right, a blog post that might be similar in nature to this blog post, link to it, right? You're going to ask questions to compel them to want to read more. Questions are a great way to stop someone. It's very difficult for the mind to ignore a question, right? If you're asked a question, it's kind of hard to like gloss over it. You're compelled to answer it if you're face-to-face, or to think about it if you're reading it, right? So when you ask questions in your content, you're engaging that person. And the other thing about your content is it's not a one-on-one conversation. You're not face-to-face, right? But you want to make it as much of a feeling that is a conversation with that reader. Right? And hopefully there's 10 readers, thousands of readers, hundreds of thousands of readers, but the questions are going to make it feel like you're having a dialogue one-on-one with them. That is, you are asking them specifically that question, and then they're thinking about that and answering that in their own mind. Another thing that I like to do with content is the inside joke. Now, do you all know what an inside joke is, right? Raise your hand, an inside joke, right? Why do we like an inside joke? What's cool about an inside joke? If you're in the inside joke, you're like on the inside, right? You're at a party and it's you and a few of your friends, there's an inside joke. It's an immediate bond, right? Like they all didn't get it, but we got it. Like we're in, right? We're kind of cool, right? We're in the cool club. We got the inside joke. There's a bond there that happens, that just naturally happens when you're on the inside of an inside joke. So I like to use inside jokes within my content because I want to bond with my reader. I want them to get it. Right? And now they don't always get it. And not everyone's going to get the inside joke. And that's kind of cool. That's kind of the point. Not 100% of the people won't get the inside joke, but that's okay. Right? The ones that do get it will appreciate your content even more, and will look forward more to subsequent content coming out because there'll be a kinship there. There'll be a bond because they got the inside joke. And think about Disney. Right? Why, as adults, can we tolerate Disney kids movies? Because they litter them with kind of like references that we get, right? There's 80s references or 70s references or drug references or, the guy's smoking a hookah and like the kids don't know what that is, but we are like, yeah. And so we're like, I'll watch the Disney movie with my kids because I'm getting it on a different level than the kid is, right? And they're great at that. And that's what you need to do as well with your writing. So let's look at some examples. Michelle wrote the blog post. I tweaked it after the fact. But this sentence was, think of Canvas ads like a mini website built within Facebook, but you don't have to be Einstein or even Urkel to create one. Right? Now, some of you are laughing, right? You know who Urkel is, right? And the reader who knows Urkel, they're going to get a chuckle out of that. And that's just what the inside joke is there to do, is to kind of create that bond. Another one here I used, your reader is still in the mode of deciding if they want to continue reading your content, or would they rather add a different filter to their latest Snapchat photo? Should I go with a violent bolt of lightning coming out of my mouth, or should I vomit a rainbow? Right? Yes, this is what people are actually distracted by these days. Now, for all the snappers out there, you get this. You're like, yeah, Or for all of you that have like 13-year-old daughters, right, who snap, you get this, And maybe half the audience doesn't get it, and that's okay. The point is, when you sprinkle in these kinds of things within your content, you're informing them and you're educating them, but you're also entertaining them, and you're creating a bond that they're going to like you more for, and they're going to look forward to continuing to read your content or read more of your content later on down the road. This is the one I used recently. I don't know what I was talking about at the time, but I said I was more nervous than Jeb Bush showing up for a town hall meeting against Donald Trump. Right? Now, can you guys read that okay? Okay. In my notes it said pause for laughter, so I just wasn't. But that's the point. It was kind of a current event. It's politics. People that get it, get it. Those who don't, it doesn't matter. The point is not to convince them of everything within this. It's to bond with the reader. I think one last one here. Then there's this problem. What if your content isn't as good as you think it is? The self-doubt that creeps in your mind can make you more paranoid than a pothead walking into a DEA convention. Right? Little things like that. I'm trying to illustrate a point with that, the paranoia that someone might feel. I think in this, it was obviously about if your content isn't good or whatever, but that's the point of the inside joke. I guess I have one more. Oh, no, that was the same one. Okay. Okay, this is about retargeting, and yikes, I'd rather watch an 18-hour Murder, She Wrote marathon before I dive into Facebook retargeting, right? So for everyone that, also hates Murder, She Wrote like I do, you'll get that. But you all get the inside joke. Does that make sense? All right. So you got to write with the end in mind. So the end in mind, what's the end in mind? Like, what do I mean when I say that? I'm sorry? Call to action, right? The kind of the point, right? The solution that you're providing, right? If they got no leads, if they hate home meetings, but they want to build their MLM, like AMF, right? That's the solution. So the end in mind is what you're going for, and that's where you're trying to draw them through to the end, right? That's where you got to keep them compelling, keep them interested, pull them through to the end, because a clear call to action is one that's going to be relevant to the subject matter. First of all, right? You can't sit here and talk about lead generation, and then at the end the call to action is a solution to grow stronger and better tomatoes, right? It just wouldn't make sense. The call to action is located in at least one prominent place throughout the post. Now, the obvious one is put it at the end. Big, huge call to action at the end, and yes. But you can put little calls to action as well, 1 or 2 or 3 other times throughout the post. And a great way is with Elite Marketing Pro, they give you banner ads, right, for the different courses, the video marketing course, or this course, or that course, or you can use a little HTML code and slice that thing and just put it in your content and put it in strategically throughout. Maybe about 1/3 of the way through, and then 2/3 of the way through, and then a big call to action at the end. Right? So you're giving them more than one opportunity to potentially click on your solution, but you're not doing it 8 or 10 or 11 or 12 times. The copy and design must compel people to take action. You ever seen a call to action that, first of all, you can't even really see that well, or it's just like the word, maybe click here and it's a hyperlink. You can do more than that. You can create, you have an image, you use the banner ads, make a, if you understand the blogging and the formatting, use the H2, instead of just regular text. Make it bigger and stand out and bold so that they can see it, right? It's got to be clearly seen. The worst thing is to have no call to action whatsoever, all right? If you spend an ounce of your time, a minute of your time on content, and there's not a call to action at the end, in my opinion, you've just wasted time. There's no business purpose for not having a call to action, right? So I know some people think like, well, I want them to share this, and if I have a call to action, they won't share it. Don't think like that. Put a call to action in there.